Welcome back to Sasquatch Theory. In this episode, we're traveling to the mystical redwood-covered mountains of Southern California, a place of beauty, mystery, and spiritual energy. My guest Carla shares an unforgettable encounter she had while camping in the Santa Cruz Mountains. What began as a quiet night in the woods turned into a chilling experience. Metal banging in the dark, heavy footsteps circling her tent, and something powerful enough to keep her boyfriend at the time asleep while she lay awake, listening in fear. But this encounter didn't end at the campsite. It followed her home through strange lights, prophetic dreams, and spiritual connections with the land itself. This is a story that goes beyond the physical realm. It's about the connection between humans, spirits, and the mysterious beings that walk our forests. If you enjoy listening to Sasquatch Theory, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to comment down below. And of course, if you have your own Bigfoot encounter you would like to share with me here on the channel, feel free to reach out at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. Also, the Sasquatch Theory membership page is up and running again, so if you would like to join, feel free to do so. You can also purchase some merchandise to help support the channel on my Spread Shop website. With all that being said, let's dive into Carla's Bigfoot encounters and strange unexplained mysteries from the state of California here on Sasquatch Theory. Carla, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Carla, if you would tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your experiences from the very beginning, please.
Thank you. Well, my name's Carla. I have grown up my whole life in Northern California. And back in 2000, I met my then boyfriend, Justin, who at the time was a on-site maintenance caretaker for a privately owned campground in the Southern California redwood mountains, deep in the mountains. It would take him about an hour every day to drive one way into the mountains from the city to get to this campground. So it was pretty remote. And the off the main highway, it was about 15 to 20 minutes of just one way, pretty much very rocky, twisty, windy back roads to get into this basin area of this campground. And like I said, it was privately owned by a company that provided, I would consider it a glamping campground. That's what they call it these days. It had recreation centers, volleyball, cabins and campsites, a baseball field, a playground center, tennis courts is very, very large, creek running through it, lots of wildlife. And the campground was utilized by the employees during the spring and summer seasons. And during the fall and winter, the campground would close down. And it was just the on-site management that would stay during the year to take care of the grounds. And so for the first 3 years, Justin just traveled in and out, back and forth as maintenance. And during our time dating, the on-site manager retired, and Justin got the opportunity for the management position there. And he kind of absorbed his maintenance position as well. And so he became the management, living on site in the caretaker's facilities. And I moved in with him with my daughter at the time, who was 9 years old. And it was a really unique experience to be that deep out in the redwoods where there's no signals and just nobody except for these campers during the on season. And so during the off season, when we would close the campgrounds, it was a really neat opportunity for Justin and I to go out into the park and just camp wherever we wanted to. And oftentimes it would be just out in a meadow somewhere, out of the campsites, because the campsites were typically all in redwood groves, and we like to camp in the meadows where you could see the stars. And so one night during the off season, I believe it was in the fall of 2007, actually is when it was, and we had camped out behind the management facility near a playground area, which was also near a very ancient Native American. It was the Ohlone natives that that resided in that area. It was a grinding stone area, which was really neat. But it was basically just a big open field. In this area, we pitched this tent in, and it was a night where there was just no moon, and it was all stars, and we were out there um, for quite some time looking at the stars, and then went to sleep like we usually did wherever we were camping. And also near the area where we were camping, across from the road, the little back road, there was the big recreation center. It's kind of at the top of the hill where they would have food functions. And there was a big giant, I think it was like a 3 yard dumpster, just like a really big one that was taller than me. I'm 5'3". And so I had to throw stuff up over my head, this big metal dumpster. And it had um, the rubber lid that would come down, and there's a metal bar that would cross over the top of it to close it. And so this was during the off season. This canister was there. This bin was completely empty. There would have been no food or anything desirable in there because there had been no campers. And so this area next to us, it's pitch black. There's no lights. There's no lighting. There's no lights anywhere. All we had was our headlamps out there with the tent with us. And so we're sleeping, and I wake up to just this loud banging, and it sounds like just metal, um, just banging, and it's reverberating, and it's like boom, 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 and then it'll stop, and then boom, 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 louder, and it kept on, and probably about 3 sets of this booming, and I started shaking Justin, and I said, "What is that?" And he wouldn't wake up, and it was very out of his nature, because this is a guy who he'll go outside and to check anything out. He backpacks alone in the mountains and the woods. He has no problem with wildlife or anything. I've always felt safe with him, because of his comfort out there in the woods. And so I roused him a bit, and he said, what? I said, "What is that noise?" And we lay there and listen, and he listens, and he says, "I don't know." I said, "What?" And he said, "That's got to be the dumpster lid slamming. There's nothing, there's nothing out here that could do that." And when he said that, it was like instant terror kind of like filled me, because he just didn't know what it was, and he always knew what everything was. And so we're sitting there, and it's banging louder. I said, "Well, why don't you look?" And he says, "I don't want to look." And he just kind of laid back down, and I'm sitting there just terrified. And I'm like, "Honey, what is?" And he just kind of like went back to sleep. And I'm trying to rouse him. "What is that?" And he's like, "It's okay. Just go back to sleep." And it was just out of character for him. And I felt very terrified. And so I just kind of hunkered back down inside my tent, and pulled the sleeping bag up over me, and just was laying there wide awake, scared. And then I start hearing footsteps on the trail below us. And the trail below us, like, it's not maintenance, it's full of leaves and sticks and stuff. And I'm hearing like a breathing and bipedal walking. And I wake him up again. "Justin, there's something on the trail below us. What is that?" "I don't know." And he just keeps like going back to sleep, and he won't get up. And I felt like there was something just kind of keeping him from waking up. And the next day, when we spoke about it, he said he remembered hearing something yelling. I didn't hear anything like that. He said there was a high pitch yelling, and he just said, "I don't know what it was. I don't want to talk about it." And we just kind of left it at that. And it was something that always just really, um, we could never explain it, because there's no bears out there where we were at. There was nothing that could lift or slam that lid. And I thought that maybe it was something kicking the canister as well, because it was making the bin as well, because of the sound that it was making. And the next day, when he did go up there to look, the bar had been moved off of the top of the canister, which only a human could reach. There's a possibility somebody could have been out there. But like I said, it was pitch black and out in this road where it's only accessible by foot. So deep, I don't know what else it could have been. other than a Sasquatch or I don't know. It was just very interesting experience, and it kind of went in line with a lot of other strange occurrences that we had out there as far as the land.
Yeah, that is terrifying. And it does sound like Bigfoot activity. This thing was banging on possibly like a metal trash can or something that was metal, and you could hear bipedal walking and it breathing. Did the breathing sound like a huge animal?
Yes, it sounded like a like a deep and I got the distinct feeling that whatever it was intentionally trying to scare us out. Whatever it was upset. It was because of the intensity of the banging, how it just kept picking up and getting louder. And then being that we didn't move and we didn't vacate the area, I think it went down to that trail and tried to make itself heard and known as well. I really feel like it wasn't expecting, if it was in an area where it was passing through, it wasn't expecting probably any humans because there's normally never any humans out there in this campgrounds this time of year.
Yeah, I've heard the huffing before myself and the bipedal walking. And it's
Yeah.
definitely a terrifying thing. I can't imagine what you felt like when you were in the tent and you heard this, especially since your boyfriend just kept falling back asleep.
Yeah. Yeah. He just didn't want to get up and he wasn't interested in looking. And that really, it was out of character for him.
Hmm.
Really out of character for him because, yeah, typically, I mean, we'd go out and if there was a skunk walking by or whatever, we're flashing the light outside the tent to see what we're hearing. If it's a deer. And the other thing about the area is it was highly, I would imagine that it was just rich in so much food for whatever's out there. There was a deer, there was wild turkeys would show up in the fall, just in the major groups, just big groups of turkeys, and all different kinds of just animals out there. The wildlife out there, especially during the off season, it was so abundant. And then the water being the resource out there too, with the creek flowing through.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, this sounds like a perfect area for Sasquatch. You have a big woods, running water, a Native American site, and campers in the area.
Yeah, in 2008, the historical archaeological people came to survey the land because it was being transferred to the state, and those grinding stones were like prehistoric. They said, and my husband, when he was doing maintenance there, he had actually found arrowheads. Every time it would rain, he would find stuff. Arrowheads. He found a bowl, a mortar bowl that they dated at like 2,500 to 3,000 years old. So this is just very, very ancient land that was very inhabited by the natives.
Yeah, and I feel like the Sasquatch are ancient creatures. When you experience the activity, it definitely has like an ancient feeling to it.
Yes, absolutely. There was another really interesting thing that happened. At the time we were residing up there, we had two domestic feline cats, and one of which was quite fond of going on hikes with us. And he would hike all the way up to the top of this mountain where it was just a huge lookout. It was about a 2 hour hike. And he would follow us all the way up there and never, ever had any issues of getting scared or any weird behavior. He had been up there plenty of times. And one time we went up there, and this was in the daytime, and there was a group of four of us, and we went up there, and he went once we got to the lookout, he would kind of poke around like he always did. And he went poking around and then he just didn't come back. And we were getting ready to head back down the trail and we start calling for him and I can't find him and he's not anywhere around. And I'm looking and looking and I finally found him and he was hunkered down underneath a manzanita bush, just completely terrified. And I kept picking him up and trying to bring him back onto the trail, and he would not. And he just kept slinking down and trying to hide. He was trying to go off trail and hide. And it was so bad that I ended up having to, my friend had a JanSport backpack, and we had to empty out his whole backpack and put the cat in the backpack to get him back down the trail because he was just petrified. And we still don't know what it was, but we did get just this weird feeling like we were being watched, like the latter part of our hike up there. And it was, again, it never happened again. And he never followed us back up that trail again either. And it was just a really strange occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else happened after this?
Um, as far as Bigfoot activity, Um, I wouldn't say anything much. We weren't big into, like, we weren't aware so much of like Sasquatch and the presence up there.
Mm.
We would have been definitely looking for footprints and that kind of thing at the time. But we had some other very strange experiences. One of which was with involved one of the ravens that was up there. So when we first arrived as caretakers on site, there was a raven that actually crossed my daughter's path. First, she came in the house terrified. Mom, there's a big black bird and it won't let me get my bike. And I said, well, go give it an offering and introduce yourself, and give it a piece of bread. And she did. And that raven ended up being just great friends with everyone in the household. And we fed him, and he followed us around the community or around the campground. And he also had a mate. And one day I heard him screaming in the backyard, squawking, squawking. And I went out into the backyard, and there was a hawk standing on his mate in the backyard, and he had killed her. And he was standing there. And then the male raven was standing on the fence screaming at the hawk. And I ran down and I chased the hawk away. And there was the female raven in just a big pluff of feathers. You can imagine when like a bird gets attacked, there's just feathers everywhere. And so there's just the down feathers and the black feathers, and they're all over the place. And I was pregnant at the time with my son, and I just couldn't stand the sight of it. It was so sad, and I didn't know what to do. And so I looked, my husband had made like a pile of redwood boughs because he had trimmed the tree. And so I just took these boughs and I covered up the whole body of her so you couldn't see it, because I didn't want the raven, her mate, to see it any longer. And I thought, I'll come down and I'll bury her tomorrow. And so I left her there overnight, and I came back down in the morning to bury her. And I picked those boughs up, which were in the same exact place as they were when I had laid them there. And she and every single fluffy feather, every down feather, it was gone, completely vanished, completely gone. And this is the kind of strange stuff that would happen on this land. There was no explanation for it. Even if a wild animal were to have come and, say, scavenged on the body, or if the raven even was to get the body out and do something with, there was no way every single sign of this could have just disappeared. And so that was just a very strange occurrence that had happened as well. That kind of went along in line with all of the other things that would happen up there. Um, when we first moved up there, also, my daughter had an experience. We didn't have any coverings over the windows yet. And she came terrified into the living room saying she was seeing strange lights outside the window. And so we hung something up in the window that night. And so she wouldn't see anything else. And um, later that week, we were going on a hike, and it was oftentimes we would come back and it would be dark. And so we were heading back towards the house, and it was very, very dark. And we were talking about it, my husband and I, and I go, well, there are things out there, and I really believe there's UFOs out there and whatnot. And I said, it's my belief that if they want you to see them, then you will. And right when I said that, a bright light just went right over our heads, right over the house. And it was something completely unexplainable. Um, don't know what it was. Other campers reported lights in the sky as well. Also, like bright red lights. They would describe this like a fire in the sky. Um, So yeah, very interesting things happening out there.
Yeah, absolutely. With the Raven, do you feel like there was some sort of significance behind that, like a message or something?
Um,
Like a spiritual meaning, I guess is what I'm saying.
well, yeah, we were, the spiritual connection with this raven, I just felt like he had been a guardian of the land for so long. One morning I woke up and I heard chattering, almost like how they describe the Bigfoot chatter, and I've heard like the Sierra sounds. It was this chattering, and it was in early morning hours. And I look out the window, and there was about 12 adult ravens in a circle outside on the property. And they were talking like they were having a powwow in this chatter. And what was strange was that anytime any other raven or any other bird would come into this area, this we used to call him Brother Raven. Brother Raven would run them off because it was his land and his area that and only him and his mate had claimed. And so it was really interesting to see them standing in a circle like this. And then they ended up departing. It was like they just came and had their little meeting and then left. But I really feel like the ravens are the guardians between the realms. And, that raven had just an awareness that far surpassed any animal that I had ever come in contact with. He was highly intelligent. He would follow me. I worked 20 minutes down, 30 minutes down the road at the market at one point, and he would follow me from the market home. And he would know my hours, and he would know that every day I would come home from the market, I would bring him an offering. Um, yeah, so I don't know exactly what the significance was behind that disappearing, but I just know that they're very spiritual animals and they're magical in ways that we just don't even comprehend, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the fact that you were seeing strange lights in the area, I feel like there's a connection with the lights and the activity that's taking place, whether it's cryptid creatures, Native American sites, or I don't know, everything. I feel like it's all
Right.
connected.
Yeah, that's how we felt. And as far as like being on the land, how I felt, I've always had, let's say, psychic abilities. When I was out there, I got like blown full open as far as energetically and my ability to see things and whatnot. For
Mm.
example, um, part of my time out there, I was doing massage therapy. I was traveling over a very dangerous mountain road. And during one of my travels over that road, I saw myself having a bad car accident. And I equated that with the path that I was taking. And so that night when I came home, I sat down with my family and I said, "Hey, I feel like I'm going to be in an accident if I keep going this way over this mountain. I think I should start taking the other way around, even though it's about 20 minutes longer." And they agreed. And so that week, I started taking a different route. And that week, I was in a terrible car accident. I almost went over a 250-foot ravine. Um, but that kind of ability where even though I was going this other way around, I did see this accident happening. It was just very, that kind of awareness. It was really easy for me to tune in when I was out there. Um, there's literally no signals or anything like that, and so yeah, those kind of experiences were frequent for me. And what I witnessed on the land with visitors was that if you came there with good intentions, you would have a fabulous time. It was like the land amplified things. And if you came there with a negative attitude or anything like that, like you would leave having a really negative experience. Like, for example, one lady came and was really rude to us and just had a really nasty disposition about the land and was saying some kind of really awful things. And she ended up breaking her ankle while she was out there. Um, and, it was things like that that you would just go, wow, these like really intense things, experiences happen to these people when they're out here, either good or bad.
Yeah, I
It's
could
like a
agree with that. Like, if someone's really negative in their life, they might have a negative Bigfoot encounter, but if they're positive, they might have a positive experience with them.
sure. Yeah, yeah. The land definitely was very much it had just an awareness to it out there. It was yeah, being that it was so remote, it just wild. Yeah, you definitely felt looked at when you were out there, you know.
Yeah, the forest is alive, but it definitely feels like it's intelligent when you experience things like this.
Yes, yeah, yeah, different kind of experience.
Do you feel like the Sasquatch were, I don't know, like attracted to the ability that you have as far as experiencing things that are out of the norm?
I do. I do. I think that I felt that my experience from Justin's experience was different, and that I was meant to be aware and awake and experience it, and he wasn't in that way. Um, for some reason, I felt like I was, yeah, my awareness level, it may have been drawn to that in some way. Um, I feel like I definitely pulled in a lot of those experiences. Um, Another really magical thing that happened when we were up there is my grandmother passed away. And we had been gone shopping in town one time or during that day. And when we came back from town and pulled into the park, every open space of grass was covered with robins. I've never seen anything like it. There was never a migration out there. I mean, we had been out there several seasons at that point, and the robin was my grandmother's bird. My grandma was a singer and she loved the song of the robin. And so when we pulled in, I knew that my grandma had passed away, and they didn't even get startled. I mean, we just pulled in and walked around and drove past, and they were just covering every square inch of the park that we could see, just thousands of them, it seemed. Um, yeah, that was another really incredible experience. And I knew right away that it was my grandma um, sending me that message up there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard that from people that have lost a family member. They claim they see like a certain bird or a flower that was connected with the person that passed away.
Yeah, yeah, it was an incredible experience. Um, and it only happened that one day, at one time up there.
Mhm. Is it still the same way today in that area? Like, can you still camp there? Is it like pretty remote?
It was destroyed in a big fire. So it's been closed for, I think, 4 or 5 years. The caretakers that were up there lost everything.
Oh man,
And
I,
so,
I hate to hear that.
yeah, yeah, very, very sad. But the really interesting and kind of neat thing is that it's going back to nature in a way.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't heard anything about what's going on up there at all, or how bad the fire was. Like, um, but I do know that the managers' cabins were destroyed, or the managers' facilities were destroyed in a lot of the cabins.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think we were going to take a trip out there this summer and just kind of go check it out, because it's been so long. It'll be our 20-year anniversary coming up, and so kind of wanted to revisit it,
Yeah.
see what it's like. Yeah.
The fires can definitely be devastating to the land and have a
Yeah,
profound effect on them. But it's wild to think that death can bring life. Like those fires will rejuvenate new life, and I guess that's how it is with people. Like you have to go through the fire to feel alive again.
that is very true. Very, very true.
Yeah, it still sucks for the wildlife though.
It does. It really does. Yeah. I'm hoping we might see Brother Raven
Yeah,
if we back.
a lot of my friends up north, like from Minnesota, Michigan, or Canada and Alaska, they all have like a spiritual connection with ravens. They say that like ravens like are messengers and there's just something spiritual about them. And I guess that belief has been around for a long, long time.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There another really interesting connection with the raven was with the pregnancy of my son. I was a couple of months pregnant, and my husband and and my daughter, we were all in the caretaker's house there, and my husband was in the kitchen doing the dishes, and we were tossing up names, and he says, "What about the name Odin?" And I said, "Oh, that's a neat name. Gosh, that sounds familiar." And he says, "I don't know why that just came in my head. I don't know where that's from." And I said, "Oh, I think that was like the Norse, one of the Norse, all father of Norse." And he goes, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "That's interesting." And I go, "I like that name. What about a middle name?" And he says, "Well, a tree name would be neat. I've always thought that would be neat. What about Ash?" And I thought, "Oh, that's a neat name." And so I go downstairs and I Google, and Odin is associated with the ravens. And in the Norse mythology or Norse history, Odin hung on the Yggdrasil tree, which was an ash tree. Um, and that's part of the whole Norse story. And so we named our son Odin. And Odin Ash. And yeah, we've always had that connection with the Raven. We feel like that was part of his gift to us that he brought us our son and our son's name, which we thought was interesting and magical the way it came to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like they had a connection with the things that people are experiencing today, as far as like the cryptids, the orbs, the strange phenomenon,
Right.
and like the story of Odin. It kind of mirrors like the story of Jesus and Christianity.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me feel like the same thing keeps happening, and I often wonder, is like this same scenario playing out like in planets across the universe where someone comes and dies for their sins, or I don't know.
Right. Right. It's just, it's kind of almost like the same thing, but it's fit for the time and the culture that it's happening in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I heard when they came here that they saw like 7-foot hairy beings that were throwing rocks at them.
Right.
hmm The Vikings,
Yeah.
I guess, is what I'm talking about.
Right. Right.
hmm
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a connection there as far as ancient civilizations, these creatures, the Smithsonians, the giants that are being found, underground bases,
Right.
UFOs. I feel like it's all kind of connected.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
What other experiences have you had? And
Um,
anything else you want to share?
um,
Some paranormal stuff.
Paranormal stuff. I just caught orbs on my camera last night.
Yeah.
We get orbs a lot. Yeah, I do. I get orbs a lot. I have a camera that picks them up a lot, which is interesting. But yeah,
What about the
that's
red light that you were talking about, like the fire in the sky? Is that something common that's seen there in that part of California?
Yeah, my husband and I actually where we're at now, we're over in Humboldt Bay, California now. We did see like a red fireball of light drifting over us in a way, and then it just kind of split. It's going slow 1 second, and then cuts off to a different direction, and it disappears. Um, that that's something that we've seen here. Um, yeah, it's not uncommon um, out here. And yeah, as far as but yeah, a lot of orb activity, especially like at the lakes and stuff. There's a place called Ruth Lake out here where I picked up a lot. Um, and you know what? I think a lot of activity too. There's just a lot of unrested souls here along the California coast because of what's happened with the natives. You got places like called Battle Rock, And even the land that we're managing on now it's a massacre site. It's a mobile home community built on top of a Native American massacre site. And like the property that we're on right now, I there's strong Fey activity here. Um, and it took us a couple of years to get, after making many offerings down at the river, to get them to settle down, because there was just a lot of trouble with the facilities that are down on the river, and things that would happen and go wrong and that were just unexplainable with the lift station systems and whatnot. And our whole community underwent a major upgrade. We got this company, Pacific Gas and Electric, who ran all new gas and electric lines through the whole community, which the community's built basically right down on the river. And I let them know that if they continued to disrespect the land in the way that they were, throwing their cigarette butts, leaving oil, dumping things, that things would go wrong down there. And they laughed at me, thought it was funny. And boy, their equipment started breaking, their trenches started caving in. Went through 5 or 6 foremen in through this project because they kept quitting and walking off the job because of how much trouble and things were happening down there. And finally, they got a decent foreman down there. And I said, if you go down there and you do some prayers, you do some, talk to the land, you need to speak to the land, maybe you'll have a better time. And he did. And things kind of went a little bit smoothly, more smooth from then on. But the land is alive here, and um, it holds a memory, and it holds energy. And like you were saying, if you bring something negative, you're going to experience that negative. And that's what these workers were doing. They were very, very negative, throwing tools and angry because things weren't going the right way. And the land would just give it right back to them. And it took them, it was supposed to be an 18-month project, and it ended up taking 4 seasons to get them out of here because they just couldn't get it together.
Oh wow. Yeah, you definitely have to respect the land. And that looks like a really cool area. I've never been to California before, but I would love to see the redwood trees and in Humboldt County. I mean, that looks like a
Uh,
lot of woods. Humboldt Bay National Wildlife Refuge and the Headwaters Forest
yeah.
Reserve, like that looks like a really cool area.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We've been here 11 years now, and it's very similar to where we came from, but the population's very small. So it's really nice. And yeah, the trees outweigh the people.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I know California has a huge population of people, but from what I see on a map, there's huge areas that outnumber the people. I bet the Humboldt Redwood State Park is a really cool area. How old are those trees? Like the real big ones?
Oh, they're over 1,000, some of them. Yeah. There's old growth out here too that are very old. Um,
So they've been here before, like the Native Americans, or when the Native Americans were still around before settlers. Like those are the same trees.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if there's like intelligence with those trees as far as like the orbs. Like, is there more Bigfoot activity, more orb phenomenon with the redwood trees compared to like areas like Missouri with oak trees that aren't as old? I don't know. I wonder.
There is a definite awareness to the redwoods that it's they're unique in a really special way, and that their underground root structure is one solid membrane. So they are all connected in a way that has allowed them to withstand earthquakes and those kind of things and floods, because they're just, it's like a big solid mat under there that holds them together. And they share a collective consciousness. Their roots are not intertwined, they are together. It's one solid consciousness, I believe. um, there's just a really different feeling in a redwood forest compared to any other forest that I've ever been in.
Yeah, it's like a giant, I don't know, like central nervous system. And
It really
yeah, Yeah, I'd love to see it. I bet that'd be really cool. And out here in Missouri, like the Sasquatch, they'll slowly hide behind trees, and I'm sure they do this all over the world. But I feel like there they'd just be able to hide so much better with how big the trees are.
Oh, you could probably fit a couple Sasquatch behind a tree.
Yeah, I've seen like where cars
That's
drive underneath these trees.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and then the thickness of this area out here too. I mean, there's if you research the Humboldt area, there's lots of sightings out here, especially in Willow Creek too, which is near us, which is where the Patterson footage was from.
Really,
Um,
it's in Willow Creek. I thought it was Bluff Creek. Is that maybe I got that
um,
wrong?
but it's Willow Creek. Maybe it's like might be called Bluff Creek too, but yeah, it's out here. Willow Creek's not far from us, about 40 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Do you ever just
Yeah.
go exploring out in the forest, or do you have to be
Oh, yeah.
careful going out there? Like you'll get lost easily.
I only go out with my husband. We are mushroom foragers, and so we go out off trail and get out there and yeah, I would get lost if it wasn't for him. He's got a GPS in his brain. And like I said, he's really really comfortable with all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we definitely get out there in the areas that other people don't, um, which is really neat.
Yeah, that's
It's a
so
fun.
cool. You got like huge woods there, a bunch of waterways, but you're also close to the beach. I mean, that's got to be a cool feeling knowing that you have it all.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's the best of both worlds. My husband's an avid surfer, and so that's part of the big draw out here, and the backpacking and surfing, hiking, all of it. It's a really nice area.
Yeah. And I bet there's Sasquatch even on the beaches because I've heard that in Oregon and Washington where they're like digging up clams right there on the beach. So that's got to be cool.
Yeah, and there's some areas that are so wild out here, like the Lost Coast. I mean, where the forest is basically coming right up to the rocks at the ocean, and it's so rugged and so wild. It's just people aren't out there. It's perfect habitat. It's perfect environment for Squatch out there. The Lost Coast is very rugged and wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of mushrooms do you guys look for? I'm sure the Sasquatch are seeking out the same food sources.
Oh, right. Gosh, we've got hedgehogs, we've got chanterelles, porcinis, oysters. Um, yeah, haven't found any Matsukis yet, but that's on my list to find. They're out here too.
That's what
And
blows
morel.
my mind is like you guys have completely different trees in your area, but yet the same mushrooms are growing there as like in Missouri or even like up north
Right?
in Canada and Alaska. That's kind of cool.
It is cool. You just kind of have to know what trees and where to look. And yeah, there's an abundance of them out here.
Yeah.
What's really neat is I mean, just off the highways, you could just pull over and it's just miles of thick forest just anywhere out here. And it's just, yeah, you can really see. And I could see like how how their habitat is being depleted. They're just kind of being more drawn to this area because of it's abundant and rich in resources.
Yeah.
And like the headwaters back there, it's salmon run through there.
Really? That's
Yeah,
amazing. I didn't know that.
yeah, the salmon run through there every year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess that's the area where a lot of Bigfoot reports come from now that I'm looking at a map. The Six Rivers National Forest, Willow Creek,
Yeah.
yeah, all those areas is where I've had
Yeah.
reports at in the past. Okay, so this is like, yeah, that's a cool area there.
Oh, I wanted to also something strange happened with my husband. I almost forgot to tell you.
Mm.
Following the experience with the Bigfoot with when we were in the tent, my husband had dreams for like probably a year of seeing Bigfoot, of trying to talk to him, of being pulled by him, of being grabbed by him. Um, just he would wake me up by in the middle of the night, talking, yelling, ah, and I'd have to wake him up. What was it? Oh my God, it was Bigfoot again in my dream. And so that was something very strange that affected his sleep for quite some time when we were probably the rest of the time when we were out there, I would think. Um, it just sleep disturbances with Bigfoot dreams. Sasquatch, like he was trying to talk to him.
Yeah, it's strange you say that because right before you, I interviewed a gentleman from Northern California who worked for a logging crew, and he's seen these creatures several times, but he claimed that they would get into his dreams, and he said they were the most realistic dreams he's ever had, and he saw like a 10 or 12-foot jet black male and a brown one that was like a cocoa brown.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
that's freaky.
yeah. It was it what he would startle me by these, having these. He'd be really just trying to talk and just having trouble and not being able to wake himself up.
Yeah.
And I have to, get him awake.
I can
But yeah,
imagine what that would be like to hear my partner like freaking out, like, "Oh, Sasquatch!" Like waking up from like a dream.
yeah, yeah. He's like, it's pulling me. What? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, with
Yeah,
the experience that you had, there's got to be a connection there, and maybe it has something to do with like the telepathy, or I don't know. I don't know how they get into your
yeah.
dreams, but there's definitely something like
Right,
supernatural or paranormal behind it.
right, right. I think too, when you're in areas like that, power spots, and just the lack of outside noise from the city energy and other people and all this stuff, it just makes it easier for psychic telepathy, communication, those kind of things when it's just the woods. And you've got basically the redwoods acting as kind of like filters, kind of filtering out all the outside noise from the city. I feel like it just kind of amplifies anyone's ability to kind of tune in out there.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a confusing thing because, like, I don't know, as a Christian in the Bible, it says that like telepathy, being a psychic, all that stuff is bad. But it's like, well, when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, it's like you have this knowing. Isn't that telepathy? Or if God speaks to you, like this invisible being that you hear like an audible voice from, that's kind of like telepathy. Or if an angel talks to you, that's all telepathy. So how are you going to know if it's good or bad?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of mysteries out there, and Bigfoot's
For
just
sure.
one of them. But man, yeah, this area just looks so amazing. And I can't imagine what it's like living out there. You're definitely blessed. And I would just
Yeah.
like the opportunity to see it at least once in my life.
Well, if you're ever in the area, feel free to stop by and say hello. I would love to show you some really beautiful spots. It's worth the trip out here. We've also got the Avenue of the Giants, which is it's where Star Wars was filmed, the Return of the Jedi,
Mm.
with all those big giant trees. We've got all those out here. It's definitely a trip worth making if you can ever do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the redwoods is like part of the old world, like from like a prehistoric age, and I'm sure it is. And they say that there were giants back in the days, and I feel like those trees were around when there were giant beings on this planet. Have you ever heard of any
Yeah.
reports in your area where people find like giant skeletons, anything like that?
I think I have read something about things being found in the area. I've never spoken to anybody, but I think if you do a little bit of research, I think there was something, some bones or something found out here in the Humboldt Hills. Um, might be able to pull a little something on the internet. Wouldn't surprise me,
Yeah, I would do
especially.
some research on that because a lot of the areas that are having Bigfoot encounters today are areas where people have found giant skeletons in the past.
Yeah, yeah. I believe it. There's a place. Oh no, actually, that's in Oregon, somewhere that we want to. It's called, I think, Devil's Table, but it looks like it's an ancient tree that was cut down. Um, Very large hiking rock, they call it. But yeah, I believe there's these ancient petrified trees that were cut down around that time when there was giants and whatnot. And there's some remnants of that in and around our area.
Mhm. Isn't that similar to the Devil's Tower?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. It does look
Table
like a
rock.
huge, like, petrified tree stump or
Yeah.
something. Either it was cut or
Yeah.
like there was ocean there and like the waves like
Right.
smoothed it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you mention that on
Interesting.
Facebook, people will make fun of you though, so don't say it on Facebook.
Uh, of course.
Yeah. You're not allowed to give your opinion on Facebook. Everything's got to be
No.
plain Jane.
I keep that to myself. In fact, just sharing this story with you is definitely outside of my box of doing things. You know, my husband every night has been listening to your podcast, and he's like, "You should really send him an email and tell him about what happened, honey." And I was just like, "Okay, why not?" you know. But yeah, listening to all these stories, I really love what you're doing. I think it's really fantastic. And to me, it's like an old world way of, storytelling. This
Hmm.
is what, we all are missing right now. And I think it's a really wonderful way to reach people, and a wonderful avenue for communicating these experiences.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
the
really
same
like.
way today as it was for the Native Americans. Like everything was shared like with oral traditions, and it's the same way
Yeah,
with like these cryptids. People always say, "Well, where's the proof? Where's the pictures?" It's like, I don't know, but I saw it.
yeah, yeah. And when you do experience something like that, the last thing you're thinking about, honestly, is picking up a camera,
Hmm.
especially if you're not looking for that experience and it just happens upon you. Um, Kind of thing. I really believe that's why so many of these things you don't have proof, because you just experienced it.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. It's like if a piano is getting ready to fall on you or if an earthquake was happening, it's like you're not thinking about your phone. You're like
oh,
studying what's about to happen to you.
right, right,
I
yeah,
feel like when you guys were camping, like he just kept going back to sleep because maybe like it was fear induced. I know sometimes when I'm doing research and I'm like in my tent trying to go to bed and I hear something really spooky, sometimes I
hmm
just go to bed because it's like I don't want to get up right now. And as a researcher, I should be getting up and documenting it, but sometimes I'm so like afraid to where I'm like, I'm going to bed.
right, right. Yeah, it's definitely it was scary. It was scary because whatever it was huge to be making that loud of a noise.
Mhm.
And yeah, it definitely put me in a space of fear.
Yeah. The Bigfoot that
Yeah.
I encountered when he walked off, I followed him. I couldn't see him anymore because he disappeared in the woods, but I could hear him like breathing. It was just like a huffing sound. He sounded like a big caveman or like a giant bull, just like
Right. Right.
yeah, it was
Right.
freaky.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Especially when it's that dark out. It's just, yeah. And we didn't want to see what was out there.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until the sun goes down.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Do you got anything else you'd like to share? Any questions for me? Anything you can think of?
Not that I can think of. Just thank you for listening, and yeah, taking it down. Our experience is definitely one to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was certainly my pleasure. Tell your husband that I appreciate him and a big shout out to you and your family.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Likewise, and keep doing what you're doing. We love to listen.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Uh,
Hopefully, more people tune in from your neck of the woods, and
yeah.
stories from California really inspire me. And I, I always believed that Sasquatch existed in the Pacific Northwest. And then later on, I found out that they're all over the place.
Right. Right. Well, if I hear of anything else in our area, I'll definitely reach out to you.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Cool.
All right, Carla, I appreciate you.
All
And
right.
you have yourself an excellent day. Okay. All
You too. Thanks so much.
right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sasquatch Theory. Carla's story reminds us that not every Bigfoot encounter is simply about seeing a creature. Sometimes it's about feeling the presence of something far deeper and older than we can understand. The Santa Cruz Mountains continue to hold their secrets, the lights, the dreams, the consciousness of the land itself, and the possibility that we share this earth with beings we've yet to truly know. The experience that Carla had when she was camping really reminds me of Bigfoot activity here in the Ozarks in Missouri. I've had similar experiences where I've laid down in my camp and inside my tent, and I could hear something big walking around outside, huffing and making all kinds of noise. In the morning, when I'd get up and check the area, nothing would be out of place. I didn't see any tracks, but I definitely heard bipedal footsteps and something big huffing in the night. I do feel like these things can possibly get into your dreams. The other night, I was dreaming about an old research area that I used to go to in the Mark Twain National Forest, and we were all at the cabin. Everyone was inside. I walked outside of the cabin, and on the backside of the cabin, I saw a juvenile Sasquatch on all fours walking behind the cabin, and it just looked over at me as to acknowledge my presence and pretty much kind of saying, like, don't follow me. If you're good, I'm good. Don't come near me. And it was strange. It looked just like the juvenile that I encountered in real life, except this one was a red and black color, and it had the same eyes, the same conical shaped head, but it was a really vivid dream. So it's hard to say exactly what was going on there, but I can confirm these things can get in your dreams, or you can have supernatural dreams about them. That's pretty much all I know. And yeah, Carla, I appreciate you for sharing your encounter with me here on Sasquatch Theory. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow Sasquatch Theory on Spotify and YouTube for more encounters and investigations. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep seeking the truth, my friends.